welcome to a new edition of Planet Waves TV for October 15th, 2020. This episode is about the new moon of October 16th, 2020. Before I go there, first a reminder that Planet Waves FM, my extended length radio program on Pacifica, comes out on Fridays at about 10 o'clock. And this week, as my guest, I will have a man named Dr. Peter Breggin, who has spent his life as a psychiatrist, basically succeeding at, in reality, stopping a procedure known as the lobotomy, where surgeons basically go in and cause brain damage, as well as electroshock therapy, and also telling the truth about psychiatric medications and debunking the whole myth of the quote-unquote chemical imbalance that we have heard so much about all of our lives. And we don't talk much about that stuff. I'm planning to have him back on the program at a later time to do a whole show on the psychiatric medication and electroshock therapy issue. However, we do talk about the whole range of problems with the COVID-19 narrative. There are nothing but problems with the standard narrative, no part of which holds up to scrutiny. The whole thing holds up as an illusion, but no part of the narrative, when you investigate it, by which I mean isolate the issue, peel it back, holds up to any scrutiny at all. So we'll have Dr. Peter Breggin once again on Planet Waves FM at about 10 o'clock Friday, August 16th. The program goes up at that time and it stays up, so it will be easy to find in the future on planetwaves.net and planetwaves.fm. Okay, so second, some information about the new moon that takes place at 3:30 and 58 seconds p.m. Eastern Daylight Time on October 16th, Friday, October 16th, 2020. This is a new moon about which people have been getting somewhat exercised, and I've had a couple of have you seen that emails, and I just want to show you, what the fuss is about, and then take it from there. See what else I have to say. Probably not very much. Okay, so here's the simplified version of the new moon chart. You can see the conjunction of the moon and the sun here. They're a conjunction because they're in the same place at the same time. 23 degrees and 53 minutes. That is what the new moon looks like. The moon and the sun will always be in the same sign. It is easy to see. That's Libra. That's the moon. It looks like the moon. That's the sun. It sort of looks like the sun. And that's the conjunction. And this conjunction is fitting into how do I do this? The pre-existing pattern that I keep talking about, which is the Aries-Capricorn pattern. So in Aries, we have retrograde Mars. There you go. That's the retrograde. And that's quick mover. Just comes and goes in a few months. And then Eris, which has been hanging around in Aries since around 1927. So Aries is taking approximately 130, 140 years to clear the sign Aries. It's sort of at the end right now. Still have another, probably 25 years of Eris in Aries. In any event, here it is. And Mars, retrograde and direct, have been dancing around, first direct, then retrograde, over Eris now since the summer. And then in Capricorn is this collection of critters. This is an asteroid called Pallas. I'm leaving her in because this is a whole scenario about politics. Jupiter in Capricorn, Pluto in Capricorn. They're making a conjunction. Saturn in Capricorn. It's in a conjunction with Pluto. That was exact on January 12th, 2020, one time only. And then Cariclo, a centaur, which didn't notice I had that in there, but now I clearly do. Cariclo, the I think fifth centaur discovered. More or less light. Okay, so what we have here is a T-square. It's a T-square because when you put the planets, when you turn the chart like this, you get a T. Right? T. Looks like a T. Today's Planet Waves TV is brought to you by the letter T. And that's an opposition. So the moon and the sun are opposite, Mars and Eris. And the moon and the sun are square, Pallas, Jupiter, Pluto, Saturn, Cariclo, and Mars and Eris are square, all these guys too. So you can see the aspects drawn in. So T square. All right, stepping back even further. When you put the moon and the sun together, and you mix them up with an aspect pattern like this, you get a lot of friction. You get a lot of tension in the air, which we are feeling. The moon and the sun move fairly quickly. the moon will be out of the pattern by midnight, pretty much, when it goes into Scorpio. And then makes a conjunction to retrograde Mercury. I'll come to retrograde Mercury. But what the moon and the sun do is they activate the pattern. So this pattern here, the Aries-Capricorn pattern, is just hanging around waiting for something to happen. And the moon and the sun come along and make something happen. And so my theory of this is that when there is a slow-moving pattern that exists in the sky, and then a fast-moving event comes by, it activates the slow-moving pattern and brings something in the background into the foreground. So there's a lot of figure ground study in astrology. In many ways, astrology is the study of two things: polarities and of figure ground. And so if you want to be a really good astrologer, study polarities and then study the phenomenon of figure and ground. The ground is what normally is not noticed. The ground is what people are normally not seeing and not paying attention to. Normally, we're looking at the figure dancing around on the stage, whether it's Donald Trump or the coronavirus or some urgent, emergent situation. It's a distraction from where the real action is, from where the real energy is, from where our attention should be if we want to get in real information from our perceptions. But normally, we're almost always distracted, and what the state-controlled media like to do is throw a figure on the screen that distracts us and almost never give the background. Our friend Rachel Maddow is great at pretending to give the background. That's one of the appeals of Rachel Maddow, is she talks about history, but she doesn't really study the ground. And so the study of astrology has to be a study in both figure and ground. Now, what do I mean by ground? By ground, I mean everything that's not normally readily accessible and perceptible to the senses, where you either have to tune in a special way or use some form of technique or method or approach or art or in some way recreate the situation that you're looking at so that you can actually get a feeling and a sense of what it is. So, example with the COVID-19 situation is, whatever this COVID-19 thing might be, whether there is a virus, whether whether or not there's a virus, there is a pre-existing situation of all of the illnesses attributed to COVID-19 already existing, and in addition to a presumed viral cause, there are numerous environmental causes. There's poisons in the environment. There are rampant kinds of malnutrition. There are vaccine injuries that are cropping up. There is a generally unhealthy, heavily medicated lifestyle in the United States. The whole situation with, for example, Roundup poisoning, PCB poisoning, dioxin poisoning, all the plastics that we're eating out of are all contributing to a problem. And when COVID-19 and the death count are put up on the screen, that becomes a figure. Hi, I'm scare you. And everything in the background disappears. We're not talking about why people are on all these medications. We're not talking about all these so-called comorbidities, and people like to pretend they don't even exist. They get aggressive with you if you say, wait a second, there's another problem here. Just about everyone who's died of this was already very sick. What are they very sick with? What is the problem? That's the ground. That's the background. And you can see where if there is a legitimate argument that the source of the real problem is the background, that focusing on the figure is a problem. And you can also imagine, I'm sure, that if somebody wants to further conceal what's going on in the background, all the other sicknesses, all the poisoning, all the medication, all the vaccine injuries, the malnutrition, the numerous stress factors that people are dealing with, all they have to do is create a distraction. And we're living in a time when there's no other problems. Many, many, many people have other problems. But we're pretending that there are no other problems. This is an example of a figure ground analysis. And so what the moon and the sun are creating is a figure. They're bringing, well, yes, you can see them, so they are figures, and then they are serving the purpose of being kind of a reflector of and a retransmitter of everything going on in the ground. And to me, the sheer madness of this whole COVID situation is twofold. First, it is the refusal to acknowledge that we have a serious background problem. We have what are called background poisons. They even use the term in environmental science, the background level, the already pre-existing level of poisons in the environment. And then there is also the background of the corporate investment. That there is that billions of dollars have changed hands. I'm sure you didn't get very much of it if you got any of it. Billions of dollars have changed hands, and much of it has flowed into the coffers of huge companies whose whole business is taking advantage of the fact that the environment is poisoned already, and that therefore people are sick, and that they need some form of or think they need some form of medical intervention, which is now going to come in the form of a vaccine. It's completely ridiculous. And a whole other layer of the background is all of this corporate meddling and mishigas that's going on, and the profound ancient connections between people in the Centers for Disease Control and the vaccine manufacturers. And you might think, well, that's just how it has to be. The CDC is supposed to be there to regulate, and the FDA is supposed to regulate. Well, it doesn't exactly work that way. People are all coming and going, circulating around the various levels, but the real background level is this incredible flow of money and resources into an agenda. And so as long as someone keeps staring at the body count ticker, people are fond of throwing bodies around right now. You say, well, there's a issue with the test, or there's an issue with the origins, or there's an issue with death reporting. Point out all these issues, and then someone just throws a corpse at you. They throw 200,000 Americans have died, 4 times more than died in the Vietnam War. Well, we didn't really care about them during the Vietnam War very much, and we didn't care about the millions upon millions of Vietnamese sprayed with these poisons I'm talking about. Anyway, I was not planning on doing a COVID discussion today, but it fits very neatly in the figure ground discussion, as does everything involving the election campaign that is going on, and this kind of mock election campaign keeps going into this kind of hyperbolic state where there's always some issue. Another example of figure and ground is the way that on the ground level that social media is being regulated, and choices of what to allow into public consciousness are being governed, regulated, and throttled by the same big media companies that themselves are profiting wildly off of this whole thing. So it would be cool if there was such a thing as a conflict of interest anymore, but there does not seem to be the recognition of the idea of even the idea of a conflict of interest, where you're not supposed to be in charge of those two things at the same time. There's no concept of anyone functioning independently, and this makes it much, much more difficult to see the relationship of figure and ground, like when somebody's just kind of mixing them all up. All right, so that is actually my take on. Well, look at that square. On at least one take on this. This is really cool looking aspect pattern, and another is just the personal level of struggle, fatigue, exhaustion, futility, and the struggle with the moon and the sun opposite all that Aries. Is a potential for anger and frustration and difficulty, with Mars retrograde, also Mercury retrograde for delays. I don't hear much from people who are really struggling with this whole unemployment situation. I'm deeply concerned about everyone in the theater and in entertainment, all of the everyone from the stagehands to the ushers to the actors, to the stage writers and producers and all this, and the theater owners. I don't know how that's ever going to be restarted up again. It's never been just arbitrarily stopped. The restaurants are not doing well. Normally, people in theater work in restaurants, and the restaurants are in very rough shape, particularly places like New York City, where they've just been allowed to open at something like half capacity. I don't know how this is going to work out, and I'm deeply concerned, and I wish I heard more advocacy for people in the theater. If you are all near and dear to my heart. So other levels of personal crisis emerging through this, and just the feeling of how difficult and frustrating this all is, and this constant imposition of the glass is always half empty. There's never an improvement. There's never ever good news. We were. I will conclude with this. We were, at least this portion. Then I'll get into Mercury. Told that 1 to 2 million Americans were going to die. Now they're having to stretch. They're really having to stretch, magnifying the number by 10 to 20 fold. To get it up to 200,000, and no one's happy about this. No one's saying, "Well, thank God that we didn't have this 2 million or more version of a pandemic. Let's be grateful that this has never overwhelmed the hospital system. There are actually very, very few people sick right now." And it's not good news. There's no good news. There's no, all we hear is horror. Everybody's walking around with their face covered outside, and a total of 7 people are said to have died on Tuesday of COVID-19. If we adjust that figure, it may be 0, and yet the constant imposition of fear continues and is exhausting. And I would caution you about falling prey to this situation where there is nothing but fear and nothing but mixed in with the fear. And the theme of the fear is your body does not know how to take care of yourself. You cannot trust your body. You need these injections and substances and cocktails and all this stuff because your incredibly magnificent, beautiful cell biology and biology and all this work you've done your whole life, learning how to take care of yourself is useless unless you have some fucking jab that contains messenger RNA and poisons that belong buried in the bottom of the love canal chemical waste dump. Okay, so now we're in the midst of Mercury retrograde. Let's just do a quick recap on that. Then I will leave you to your day. And Planet Waves comes out tonight. Maybe you're on our mailing list, and we'll get it. Beautiful edition of Planet Waves on the election comes out on Thursday night, the 15th. Check the front page of planetwaves.net for that. In any event, we're in the middle of retrograde Mercury. I've drawn that in pencil. Mercury as at approximately 11 degrees-ish, 11, 12 degrees. Where it's stationed retrograde on Tuesday. And Mercury will be retrograde first in Scorpio and then in Libra. And the retrograde will end 23, 20. When does that exactly is that retrograde end? Let's see. Mercury. Someday I'll have the ability to put this onto the screen. Events, points, but I do this on the fly, and so that it happens at all. That's my concern. Is I want these videos to happen at all. Okay. So Mercury stations direct at 25. I'll show you what this looks like. Hold on. Let me go back to where I can see you again. Okay. Mercury stations direct at 25. It's not very bright here, but at 25 Libra, kind of right where the new moon is taking place tomorrow. And this is a very complicated Mercury station direct because it is going to be opposite Eris. It is going to be square Saturn exactly, and very close to Pluto, and therefore the Pluto-Saturn conjunction. So this is a very complex Mercury station direct, and it happens on Election Day. If it happened before Election Day, it would influence the election. If it happened after Election Day, which really is the supposed end of the election in the U.S., voting's been going on for weeks. If it happened before or after, it would still influence the election. When it happens on Election Day, right in the middle of the day on Election Day, it is the election. So what we see with this election is rather than what is supposed to happen with an election, you get the results and you move on into the new reality, we are likely to experience a major freeze-up and a huge controversy. And the retrograde of Mercury in Libra suggests the whole thing is going to go to court, that no matter who loses, the other side is going to sue, because there's this polarity right now where everyone believes that if their side loses, the world ends. I'm starting to think that both sides are right, except the world's not going to end. It's just going to be a real shit show, as it has been. And notably, this whole virus drama is completely distracting us from all of the real issues we need to be working with, dealing with, and addressing in our world. And some very smart people are falling for it. Very smart people are wrapped up in this drama and clinging to their face mask like a security blanket, which it is not. I will open up to my channel and an interview with Del Bigtree and two Occupational Health and Safety Administration consultants, professional consultants who help hospitals meet OSHA guidelines on issues like personal protective equipment. Please watch this video with Del Bigtree. It's Mask Whistleblowers, and if we don't have it up now, I think we have it privately listed. I'll put it on the YouTube channel, and then we'll also move it onto the front page at planetwaves.net. planetwaves.net. So if you're looking now and you don't see it, just check back in an hour or early tomorrow, and you will see it. All right, thank you for tuning in. Don't forget Peter Breggin, Dr. Peter Breggin, someone a hero I didn't know that I had. Will be on Planet Waves FM Friday, starting at 10 o'clock. It's on demand. It'll go. That's part of the Pacifica Radio Network. New Planet Waves comes out the night of Thursday, the 15th, also on the cover of planetwaves.net. Please like this channel so we get bumped up in the algorithm. Please add your comments. I will reply. Thanks for tuning in, and bye for now. Thanks, Kate.